everybody. Welcome to the Web3 Business Show brought to you by Tokenminds. My name is Robbie, and today, as always, I have my colleagues Kay and Edgar. Welcome, guys. And our special guest, Marius from Zash. Welcome, Marius.
Hello.
And Theo from Silencio. Hello, Theo.
Hi there. Pleasure to be here, Robbie.
So, special episode today, two guests, and we're going to cover a couple of topics regarding the challenges and lessons they had when building their startup in Web3. So, let me start with the first one, guys. What has been, when starting your business in Web3, from a, let's say, venture building perspective, entrepreneurial perspective, what has been your biggest challenges that you guys had to overcome? Let's start with Marius.
Yeah, hello everyone. So my name is Marius Martoksan. I'm the founder of and CEO at Zash. It's an AI-driven social fi ecosystem designed to solve the biggest challenges of growing genuine communities. And like I said, genuine is a very important word because everything is focused around vanity metrics. To know a little bit about myself, I have been building businesses since I have 20 years ago was my first business, and since then I built many successful businesses, and I made an epic exit with 7 figures with almost 2 million from like few years ago from a previous project. And I started investing in Web3 space like 4 years ago, almost 4 years now. And starting as an investor, having a lot of time after the supposed retired, I managed to get involved in many Web3 communities. And this is how I managed to make a huge network of connections in Web3 space. And helping different projects with the struggles they had during their launch, during their growth phase. I met some people that proposed me to help them to build a project from scratch, and from just one simple idea, we landed up in building Zash, a very complex solution with multiple apps, multiple technologies behind it, heavy AI for our project. So this is how actually I started my journey into Web3 as an investor and ended up as a founder and CEO at Zash. Now, to answer to your question regarding the biggest struggle that I faced it so far, in 4 years helping those projects, I have learned that the level of scam, it's insane. It's insane in Web3 space. We are still in a very early stage with everything what's Web3 related. And let me explain. I have been 15 years working in gambling, being one of the top affiliates in Europe. So I have seen from the legal perspective, from the way how everything is growing in Web3, I see many similarities. And also, let's say, with how internet had grown. I just posted the other day on my Twitter that actually the Web3 has a bigger adoption than the internet in terms of the years and how fast it's growing. So it's super hard to find the professional people in Web3 space to work with without the proper relations or without the proper trials and errors, because everyone is trying to contact you to bring their contribution to your project, but actually most of them, they are just trying to rip off your marketing budget, your money. They don't care about you succeeding and so on. So this is, I think, is the biggest struggle that I had so far. But lucky me, because I have been already for 4 years in the space, I managed to connect with lots of people, and the amount of recommendation I get from mouth to mouth, it's incredible. So if you, my advice will be for any entrepreneur or anyone who wants to build in Web3 space a new project, the first thing to do is join other communities, start investing in other projects, understand your competitors, and get involved. That's the most important part. Get involved. jump in those Twitter spaces, go to the different conferences, meet people, because connections are super important in Web3 space. That's it from my side for now.
Yeah, thank you for that, Marius. I think that's really good and useful advice. What about you, Theo? What has been your challenges from an entrepreneur perspective that you had to overcome?
So yeah, good question. I think an entrepreneur faces everyday challenges, I would say. The ambiguity aspect, but perhaps allow me to, Robbie, first give a little bit of an intro to myself and what we're building. So we create some context before. So I'm Theo, one of the co-founders at Silencio. It's a mobile-based deepen that is allowing users around the world to commercialize their smartphone-generated data. We started last year, and today we have some of the largest data sets out there around noise level data, all crowdsourced by our community. We have I think up to date something like 270,000 people that are every day delivering lots of data, and that's a little bit on my founding side and what we're building on the Web3 space. Towards your question, I would say the biggest challenge was stepping into Web3 full time, and then falling once hard on my nose and then standing up again. I think that was the biggest challenge that we overcame prior of Silencio. So I think my first crypto contact was in 2016. Pre bull market of 2017, and then kind of like accompanied that a little bit as a passive side investment kind of thing. But I was always fascinated by the technology part. However, at that point, I really failed to see a utility side other than beyond the Bitcoin side. And so I think it was only until 2019 that one of my co-founders and I, we're actually brothers, we came across a project called Helium. And that's when we said, hey, this makes sense. It uses crypto as an incentive mechanism to deploy hardware to create a network that is community owned, and we really got fascinated by that. So we saw like tokens as coordination for human behavior, and so we decided to invest in that space, not only in the the crypto side, but then also in the hardware side, and that's how we came across what is today known as Deepen. And so we invested, we bought several hardware devices in the thousands of Helium, of projects like WeatherXM, PlanetWatch, and so on. And then when the bear market hit in 2022, when we saw everything that worked and what didn't work, and that these networks had a really tough time sustaining themselves and creating a sustainable value over time, and that being reflected in the token. And so these projects, some of them fell 90-something%, and that's when we decided to take a long view at the industry and said, what can we do that is more hyper scalable, that taps into idle infrastructure, and that still generates value. And so that's how the idea of Silencio was actually born. And so I think the biggest challenge for us was having invested heavily in lots of hardware and having that slump down and then standing up again.
That's great. Let's get into the marketing side from Kay.
All right. So thanks for your story. So Marius and Theo, speaking of storytelling, because both of your projects has different backstories, right? So how important it is for you or your project to evolve your narratives over time, and what triggers those changes? I just wanted to know. You can start with Marius first.
No, if you can clarify a little bit more the question. So I have multiple businesses, and every business I do the first thing that I do for every business I have is do the branding. So we start with logo, colors, everything that's related to branding. That's the first thing that we start with, mission and so on. Because what I noticed is that I have seen way too many big companies that succeed even without branding. But for me personally, after 20 years, branding plays one of the biggest and most important role to start any marketing campaign. You need that that branding part to start with, you know. So if you can give me more details, what you try to ask regarding the marketing
Yeah,
will be
then
helpful.
yeah, sure, sure. I mean the narratives, the way you convey your message, your the story of your brand. So, is it consistent for you? For example, for Zesh, is it consistent for how many years you've been into this business? Is it consistent from day one until now? Is it the same story, like how you convey your story to your audience?
Yeah.
Is it
No, it has
evolving?
been evolving. We have changed the the narratives like few times now, because as you know, in Web3 space, it's all about the narratives. So we are lucky to have the AI part, which is one of the hottest narratives, and most of our apps are using AI, especially our bots on Telegram and Discord. And then we have the marketing part, where the Web3 projects can use our tools to do different marketing campaigns and grow their genuine communities. We also have that community file, which is something that is actually new, and we have the social file component, which is again one of the hottest topic. At least this summer is expected to be one of the hottest narratives for Web3 projects. So we didn't know exactly what will be our final narratives when we started this journey, because marketing fi it's a new narrative, community fi it's a new narrative that popped out like a few months ago. So social fi it's something that was hot, now it's again in the center of the stage. So yeah, it's not easy, because as you can see, different influencers, especially bigger influencers, are racing with those narratives. And for example, this week memes are hot topic, the next week is the AI, and it's very important to match those narratives with your project. The pin, it's again what Theo is building there, it's again something very hot in this bull market. So yeah, things are evolving and are changing. It's not the same for Web3 projects, and you need to adapt fast, because this is what I have learned, that in Web3 space, everything is rapidly evolving and rapidly changing. And here relies also lots of opportunities if you know how to ride those changes.
All right. Thanks, Marius. How about you, Theo? Is it the same with your band?
I think we took a little bit of a different approach, if I'm honest. We took, an approach of solving a real world problem that regardless of where markets are, tokens are, that you're using blockchain and Web3 to address that. So we said, try to capture value there, deliver it, and then everything else will fall into place. And that was our strategy last year when we launched our MVP. And back then the term deepen wasn't even coiled. So again, using the simplest way to think about deepens is using tokens to coordinate human behavior, so community-owned networks. And there we were really amazed by the idea of crowdsourcing noise level data with smartphones. And so this is something that has existed in the Web2 space. There were some competitors there that have created very large data sets, and we wanted to use this data to rethink how we choose gastronomies, choose hotels, Airbnbs when we're traveling, choosing your next apartment. So using that data to then influence day-to-day decision makings. And so we like to say, Google is telling you how expensive and full a place is. We want to be able to tell you how loud it is in the future. And so with that mentality, we always maintained a clear kind of message towards the community of saying, we're creating the largest noise level data bank, which we successfully have today. And it's growing every day in the millions of readings. However, we also noticed, the biggest asset of Silencio is not the data, but it's actually a community that is engaging out there to collect data. And so with that said, a smartphone brings along so many other sensors. And so we actually realized, that yes, for sure, we continue collecting noise level data, but there's an opportunity to create all different types of data sets, tapping into those sensors of a supercomputer in your pocket. And so that's what we're doing. Even though in the branding sense, we're still spearheading with a flagship product of noise level data, we're also collecting, multiple other data streams. And that's a competitive advantage for Silencio at the end of the day, because in a deep end, it's all about supply and demand. So many deep ends have proven to be able to capture supply with, using tokens out there to bring people on it and to get them engaged. But very few have managed to create a sustainable business model on the demand side. And if you don't have the demand side secure at the end of the day, it's not going to sustain itself. And so that's why we said, hey, let's not launch a token until we have that product market fit on the demand side. And the beauty is that these different data sets that we generate have, very established market values, and we're able today to sell data without having launched any token yet. And so the idea is to do that sometime in the summer. So to answer very precisely your question, the branding and narrative always evolves. I think a startup is like a living organism. It's never going to be static. It's going to be adapting towards changes and new opportunities that arise.
All right. So for you both, it's very important to evolve your narrative. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, and also to jump into that a little bit, Theo, I think you're also making it very, very simple and easy to understand. Maybe obviously you will do that intuitively, but I can basically, in the one sentence or in a few words, I can totally understand your concept. And then your let's say your market entry strategy, you're focusing on this one niche, let's say, which is the noise levels, also kind of fits that story, right? Where you begin with something that kind of is the most logical choice, and then once you've got your position there, you extend, just like how Amazon started with books, right? So this
that's
kind of
a nice analogy. Yeah, that's a nice analogy. And I think that was more of a, I would say, evolution in itself rather than a master plan behind it. When we started, we said, noise is already taking up such a huge toll on the economy every year. It's a $5 trillion problem in the world's GDP. So just addressing that is creating sufficient value. But then, we started saying all data with a smartphone is that you could capture is the actual opportunity. Yeah.
Great. Let's go into the tech side with Ed.
Hello. Yeah. So I have one question for both of. Each of you guys have different questions. So yeah, I can start with Marius. You mentioned that the Zash app is in your website. I saw that your app is a blockchain agnostic, right? So how are you guys able to achieve it? How were you able to achieve it? That it was able to support any projects in any blockchain?
Yeah. The answer is quite simple, because all our tools and all our apps that we are building right now can be done easily without any token, right? So we started from that part and we said, okay, let's see how we can bring value into the blockchain ecosystem. And for example, there are many tools out there that do task for reward, but none of them has ZKML for the proof of fairness. So you can prove that you don't discriminate, you don't manipulate the system to who to win, everything is fair. So that's one part, that it's a Web3 component. Then we have the NFT profiles, because users that will use our apps will be in a gamified system. So all their achievements will be stored on chain. So imagine badges, rewards, and so on, everything will be stored on chain. And we use for that an account abstraction to generate a Zash wallet for them, so they can store all their winnings there. Exactly what I said at the beginning. But when we have a huge problem with onboarding new Web2 users into Web3 space, and we need to make it as easy as possible for them. So this is what we do at Zash. We create an account for them, we create a wallet for them, we create an NFT profile for them, SBTs that are their achievements on Web3 space, being active in different communities, bringing their genuine contribution to those community. Everything will be stored on chain. So the NFT profile, it's planned to be deployed on Zeta chain, because they are basically a multi-chain solution for the NFTs, so we can transact on different chain through them. But we have also two more options that soon will be decided, the final blockchain where we will deploy those NFT profiles. Then we have something that also none of the competitors have. We have the escrow that is on chain. Basically, when you want to offer prizes like an NFT, or you want to offer tokens, we will have some smart contracts, and the projects will have to put in that escrow the amount of rewards that in the end will be distributed to the users. So basically, that blockchain agnostic part comes from the lots of things that are built actually on the Web2 side, right? But everything that is important for the user, it's on Web3 side. And in time, of course, we will try to bring as many components in Web3 side. So in our situation, it's a little bit different than like any other project that is on Web3. Does it make sense what I explained for you, Edgar?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because
I think
I just want to complete with something else. It's like, for example, for gaming in Web3, or for the AI part on Web3. Now it's almost impossible to have a full functional model in Web3. For example, as we will use lots of AI, and we need lots of power to process all the information we have on Discord, on Telegram communities. Imagine processing 10 million users on different platforms. You need a huge amount of computational power, and you cannot get that on Web3 space. Or you can get it, however, the cost will be 1,000 times more. The only blockchain that I know that did some amazing progress so far is ICP, Internet Computer Protocol. So from what I understand, they have for now the most advanced AI technologies and the cheapest one if we compare with the Web2. However, it's still like far away for being accessible to the general public and to do everything on chain from the AI perspective.
Yeah, thank you for that, Marius. Yeah, for my question to Theo, you mentioned that you use smartphones, right, to gather the noise data. Isn't this going to have a potential of exposing private data for the users?
So let me just make this very clear. We don't measure any content. It's all about measuring DBAs. So it's about the pitch. It's completely anonymous. It's GDPR and data privacy is compliant. We actually have an audit on that, and yeah.
Oh, so basically you're gathering data without actually getting the actual content of that recording. You only
Correct.
get the decibels of the recording. If I'm
Correct.
not mistaken. Okay. I think that's it for my question. Thank you.
Theo, if you don't mind, I have a personal question regarding that.
Please.
Do you store and analyze data on chain? Because I have seen this on the medical field doing quite often.
Yeah, so for this, the technical team would be the most adequate to answer you in detail, but I can give you a high overview. Basically, we upload a hash on chain of the recording, which at the end testifies, that a reading has certain taking place in a certain time and place, and what the value was of that reading, and what the unique machine ID was of that reading. So on the blockchain we're building, this allows us that every user, we actually talk about users as sensors in our case, because we want to allow users to have multiple sensors down the line, so different IoT devices. And that will all allow them to, create a unique machine ID that then gets stored on chain.
Yeah, thanks.
And Theo, who are usually the buyers of this data?
Yeah, so for this instance, we're working with data aggregators. These are companies that buy data from applications such as ourselves, but mostly in the Web2 world. And one really exciting aspect that we're bringing to them right now is that having the consent aspect also stored on chain makes it verifiable that a given user has given you consent to collect and to commercialize that data and make it publicly available. And so essentially what happens is that there's a big crackdown going on in places like the US, where more and more it's getting more difficult to buy this data from companies because maybe the consent aspect isn't that clear. Why should your, let's say, yoga app be collecting certain data sets that you are not profiting off? And so for us, it's very different. We have a community that actively wants to sell this data and gives us the consent. And so this creates a situation where our data is actually considered a premium versus Web2 competitors. Down the line, however, we want to work directly with the businesses. So an ideal client of ours would be, let's say, Airbnb, Booking.com, OpenTable. So these companies integrating our noise level data or different data sets, for that matter of say, into their decision-making process. So let's say every time you book a restaurant, you get a noise score to it as well. So that's the vision behind it.
Right, that's exciting stuff. Thank you guys so much. We're running into the end here. Just a quick final note to our listeners, who are our fellow entrepreneurs, projects starting Web3 or building their Web3 project. What do you guys kind of advise them? What would you recommend? Anything that you can give to them that will potentially help them in their journey? Starting with Marius.
Yeah, just what I said at the beginning, you need lots of connections. So before doing anything else, maybe you have a good business plan or whatever. First of all, try to make as many connections as possible. Go out there, get involved in communities, try to be part of the projects, even if you are not getting paid, just to learn. Because Web3, it's so different, especially if you are coming from Web2, it's a different journey for sure. So make sure you make those connections and make sure you do a good business plan that will in the end will lead to adoption, because the adoption is one of the biggest problems in Web3, and this is why 95% of new startups are failing on the blockchain. So good luck, guys. Learn, connect, and thrive.
Theo, what about you?
Yeah, so for myself, I would have maybe two suggestions. Using Marius, as what he just said, as a segue, I think try to build very simple products, very intuitive Web2 products. So leave out all the Web3 stuff, put that in the background, don't have people engage with that. So with that said, look at very successful Web2 products. What do they do to drive adoption, to create new users and engage community members, and try to replicate those things? Because at the end of the day, I think there's still a big friction when it comes to adoption, just because we're focusing so much on the technology rather than the solution. Which brings me to point two. If you are collecting and creating something of value and being able to deliver and ship that, that's what you have to focus on rather than the technology part.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. Hopefully see you guys possibly next time. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you Ed and Kay as well for being here, and see you next time. Bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.